updated on Tennessee's roster are sizes for the Vols, and you would expect guys to put on a considerable amount of weight. Anybody stand out to you as far as sizes and guys can add 10, 15, 20 pounds in an off season. So Calhoun, let me start with you. Anybody stand out to you as far as guys that have added weight to this point?
Well, as far as the actual, when I'm breaking down the weight of some of these guys, Arion Carter being at 207 pounds, we've talked a lot about him, kind of stands out because I think when he came to Tennessee, Gyro could maybe correct me, but I think he was in the 210 range. So pushing 230 now, given what we think he can be at linebacker as a freshman, that's a really, really, really big deal. Also, John Campbell Jr. is right at 320 now. I think that's where they want him to be because we know that he's pushing at, I believe it's left guard, right?
I think he's going to be left tackle last I heard, but that could change in preseason camp.
Okay, so left tackle. And left tackle, I think you would theoretically prefer closer to 330, but you can live with 320 at left tackle. And so I think that really stands out. Nico is the story. Nico's at 206 pounds, which is not where he needs to be, but it's much better than where he was when he arrived on campus. I think he was like 190 when he got to campus.
They said 190. He looked like he was maybe even lighter to me. So I think that's a great start. Being that you said he was the 209 range,
206.
206. I think you take 206. I think eventually you want him to be 220. But Caleb Jarreau, that just means to me, even at 206, you don't want him in there with his thin frame anytime soon. And it's hard to gain weight during the season. I think the reoccurring theme at SEC Media Days this week is this needs to be Joe Milton's team. And 206 is light. That makes me think at 6'6", it still needs to be Joe Milton's team.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we see that because Joe Milton is here representing Tennessee this week. I don't think they would have sent him if they didn't think he was going to be the starter through the year. It's kind of a vote of confidence from Josh Heupel and his staff that they trust Joe Milton to come to SEC Media Days, represent Tennessee, represent the university. And I assume we'll see him starting throughout the year. I agree. I don't think you want to throw Nico out there at 206 and jeopardize his career, especially when down the line he's the quarterback of the future at Tennessee. So I agree. I think he needs to add some more weight. 206 still seems very light. I know he was light in spring camp. He looked light in spring camp. But that's what he has a year to sit and do is gain weight and learn the offense a little better.
Yeah, and I don't want to knock on some of the freshmen because they've only been here for about 6 weeks, but you got Jordan Matthews at about 182 pounds. I think you'd like him to be just a little bit bigger. Some other numbers that stuck out to me, and this is not a surprise, but Keenan Pili, a solid 240 pounds as a transfer. And I think you and I agree, maybe of all the transfers, that he's the most likely to be a starter, Calhoun, from day one.
Yeah, and it kind of shocked me, too, because we worried about Keenan Pili's lateral quickness when he arrived. And I think that just had our thoughts of him coming from BYU, thinking he didn't have what Jeremy Banks' quickness was going to be. So you worry about his quickness, and then he puts on weight to get to 240 pounds, and you're thinking, well, if he's at 240 pounds now, that's by design. That's what the conditioning wanted. That's what the coaches wanted him to be at. And so I guess they think that he can maintain his quickness and athleticism at that weight. That's going to be the most interesting thing to pay attention to, because if he is as quick as we think he needs to be in the SEC at that weight, I mean, we're talking through the roof potential at that point as a linebacker. And I didn't think he would be better than Jeremy Banks, but I'm thinking, okay, maybe he could be better than Jeremy Banks at that point. And we know he has I think we all believe he has better intangibles than Jeremy Banks. But at this point, he might actually just be a better linebacker than Jeremy Banks if he can keep any quickness at that weight, which is going to be a huge, huge deal. You and I know Tim Banks and the schemes he runs and the blitz packages he does. He needs that one big linebacker that's almost the quarterback of that mid-level of the defense. And it looks like they are all in on Pili doing that.
The other guy that surprised me in his weight in a very good way, first I want to tell you about Craft Treats. Go to crafttreats.com for your dog or cat or any pet. They have all the holistic treats that you will like. They also have the chill pills with the CBD derivative. The chill pills are fantastic if your pet has any issues with, say, digestive tract or anxiety is a real possibility as well. And they will take care of you with chill pills, a CBD derivative in there. They've got non-CBD as well, but with the chill pills, you'll be well taken care of. Use the promo code Off the Hook. That's the promo code Off the Hook for 20% off. Also helps a great deal with arthritis. I do not believe offensive linemen step in and have a huge impact from day one. It just does not happen in the SEC. But you look at one of their most highly touted prospects, Jairo, and it's Shamarad Umarev, who is up to 320 pounds, 6'7". Probably want him to be a tackle long term, but at 320 pounds, if he has leverage at that size, maybe he can step in and play some guard, because I think Tennessee's a little light there in the interior of the offensive line. So Umarov, maybe he's the guy that we've overlooked in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, and thinking back to spring practice, even when he was probably a little lighter, still trying to put on weight, he moved well and looked good going through drills with Glenn Eller being the other offensive lineman. He held his own in 1v1 drills whenever they were running those as well. So I think a year when you need offensive lineman depth, and especially moving forward, even just thinking about next year and the year after, having Umarov at that 320, 6'7" weight, being able to add more weight if you need him on the interior, and assuming he can still move well like he was in the spring, I think he also could have an impact. We think about how quickly these offensive linemen can burn out too when you're running, 70, 80, 90 plays a game in this Tennessee offense. I think you need to have a lot of offensive linemen who can come and step in. And you also look at a guy like Larry Johnson, who's a super big dude out of junior college, who was 6'7", 348 pounds. He's another guy where if one of your starters does go down, or he might even compete for a starting spot, you can at least trust him to look the SEC way, look like an SEC offensive lineman. Whether he plays like it is to be determined, but he'll look the part and have the weight to stand his own on that offensive line. And that's one of the unsung heroes of last season, was we never had any issues with Darnell Wright giving up sacks, or with Spraggins giving any of those guys. You never worried that they were going to miss their block or miss their assignment. And that's a big question mark going into this year, is who's going to fill those shoes.